Hello and welcome to the interview here on France 24. Our guest today is Bastian Obermayer, who is a journalist with the Süddeutsche Zeitung, who alongside his colleague Frederik Obermaier was the origin of the now famous Panama Papers, a global scoop that sent shockwaves across the world by shedding a crude light on the secretive world of tax havens. Thanks to an anonymous source, what is arguably the biggest document leak to date has shown that top politicians, businessmen, celebrities, and of course criminals, from Iceland to Syria, from Russia to Argentina, from Pakistan to the United Kingdom, have gone to great length to hide their money in offshore accounts by using a now infamous Panamanian law firm called Mossack Fonseca. The effort involved some 400 journalists from 76 countries who worked for months and in secret on the 11.5 million documents to produce a series of reports published in early April on the likes of Vladimir Putin, Bashar al-Assad, or football star Lionel Messi. Your story is now compiled in a book that's being published in several countries, but it all starts with an email that you guys are getting out of the blue, an anonymous source who still is anonymous today, and it was hard to believe at the time.
Right, that's how it all started. We got this first message. We can't really reveal if it was an email or a text message or whatever, but we got this message from somebody who we didn't know then, and we don't know yet who it is, who asked us if we would be interested in data. And well, I answered, yes, I am, obviously, as we all know now. And so it started.
And it has really created a shockwave across the world. How soon did you realize how big this would be?
Well, it started only with a bunch of data. So in the beginning, we thought it looks good. Then after we found the best friend of Vladimir Putin, we thought this is going to be good. And when we needed to have a list for the heads of states that we found in the data, we knew this is a bombshell.
This is a bombshell. Obviously, we can't go into all the names and all the stories that have been published across the world. You mentioned Vladimir Putin, obviously the Russian president. There has been speculation for years about his wealth. You think you found some evidence that people very close to him used offshore companies to circulate money that's probably related directly to the president. Are you confident that you found maybe what many people were looking?
Well, maybe. We don't know for sure how close we get to the president. But we have this one person, his best friend,
who's a violinist,
Mr. Roldugan, a violinist, who told the New York Times that he would be no businessman and he would own no millions. And we found this person in the middle of a number of offshore companies where billions are moved. More than $2 billion are moved in this number of offshore companies. And this person is the godfather of Vladimir Putin's first daughter. And we see that a part of the money that's inside there is being used for the marriage of the second daughter of Mr. Putin. So I'm not really sure if you ever can get closer than this.
So for you, this was evidence. And actually, strangely enough, Vladimir Putin himself, after saying or having his spokesperson say that this is a plot by the West against Russia, actually admitted that what was published was true.
Yes, he said the information was accurate. And
what do you make of it? What do you make of that answer?
I really don't know, to be honest, what to make of this answer. I guess it's the only way that he could explain to his people why he didn't sue us, why he didn't really attack us. Because if he would have said this is all wrong and all false information, then he would have to act, maybe. He would have had to show us that he's right. But so he said, well, it's all accurate, but they misinterpret it, and they are lawyers and agents, and they are trying to make a scandal of complete ordinary things. That's what he said.
Right. I mean, there's also an intriguing figure, the cousin of Bashar al-Assad, Rami Makhlouf, who's been in the news also, especially since the beginning of the war in 2011. What you found was that he was known to this law firm in Panama, but despite all this, he was able to use them probably to channel money around.
Yes, and they knew him for many years. They had him in the documents since, I think, 96, and the name was in there. And we have an email conversation from some years later, I think it was 2011, where they talk about, shouldn't we get rid of this Mr. Makhlouf? Because, you know, he's on that sanctions list. One employee even said, shouldn't we treat this as a serious red flag if somebody is on sanction list? And of course, they would have to do that.
But why don't they do this? I mean, he's just one example in the whole list that you mentioned in the book.
What they say is, well, as long as HSBC in London is dealing with this person and is not having a problem, why should we?
Are they right to think this? Because, I mean, obviously, you got the data from this law firm that's now been investigated, but obviously they're not acting alone. They're only part of a big machinery.
Yes, they are part of a big machinery, but they are, of course, not right. I mean, they just help to break sanctions. This is a very severe and real crime that must be looked after by authorities worldwide. And I knew that the German authorities are really interested in this case because Jürgen Mossack, he's in the end a German citizen. So let's see what happens.
Obviously, maybe one country, and maybe unexpectedly so, where it had an immediate impact, whereas in Iceland, where the prime minister, I'm going to try to pronounce his name correctly, Sigmundur David Gunnlaugsson, was forced to resign after being confronted by your information. This is probably the most spectacular case. We've seen the British Prime Minister, David Cameron, being embarrassed by a company held by his father, but there it had a political impact.
Yes, because he had founded a company with his wife back in, I don't know, years back. And when he came in the political area, he didn't name it. He would have to tell it to the parliament when he got into, but he didn't tell them. So he was in a really bad situation because he had this offshore company, and we found out he didn't not only not mention it, but he also had bonds of the 3 failed banks in this. And he, as a prime minister, had to deal with all the creditors of those failed banks. So he was somehow sitting on both sides of the table while he was leading the negotiations. And if you don't tell this, you people, in a democracy, then you really failed. This is why he had to go.
Right. What impact has this had on the way the world, especially Western countries, the United States, Western Europe, are dealing with this offshore finance issue?
Well, we saw Mr. Barack Obama saying that he wants to change legislation after Panama Papers. We saw David Cameron saying that he needs a register of beneficial owners in the UK. We will have new laws in Germany, so there's a lot in motion. And Panama already had agreed to really join the automatic data exchange, and there will be a special committee in the European Union to investigate the Panama Papers case. So there's a lot of movement. We'll have to look at all this in many months and say if they really acted or only talked. So this is now our job. But I think it's more than I thought.
Right. You say in your book at some point that the United States especially knew a lot about what this law firm was up to. Does this mean that many intelligence services know what's happening behind the scenes and are not willing to act?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's no secret that the offshore world is dealing with very many dubious persons. And Mossack Fonseca had US offices in Nevada and in Wyoming. They now have closed them both down because I think they are afraid of legal action there. But it's not a secret. And many people knew, and they just didn't care for it.
Mossack Fonseca employee was arrested recently in Switzerland. There's a lot of speculation that he was your source.
Well, we don't really comment on this. I only read in the newspaper that this person allegedly has started getting out data there after we published. So that's all that we know at this point.
But more broadly, are you concerned of a backlash that whistleblowers or investigative journalists might be intimidated? Maybe you have been intimidated in one way or the other.
Yes, of course. This is a big issue because we see where the most whistleblowers end, who give their name out. I mean, in Snowden, in Moscow, Edward Snowden in the jail, Chelsea Manning and many others too sit in jail or even died. So I think that the new law that is now being brought forward by the European Union to save trade secrets is the complete wrong way, because it only helps the big companies who, of course, don't want their dirty secrets out there. And like it's now, I wouldn't really advise anybody to be a whistleblower because it's really dangerous.
Right. Last question. Are there still some stories to come out of the Panama Papers?
Yes, of course. We hope big stories, but we're still on it, and I don't want to promise too much now.
Okay, Bastian Obermayer, thank you very much for coming on the France 24/7. And thank you for watching this interview. Stay tuned for more news.